The former Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, senior advocate of Nigeria, SAN, has described Nigeria's constitution as the most maligned document despite its profound and useful objectives. Now, the former Lagos State Governor spoke during the 30th anniversary launch of Nasar Lahi Fateh, that's NASFAT, held at the main auditorium of the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, NIMR, that's in Yaba, Lagos State. Now, Fashola, while speaking on the theme Faith, Social Justice and Economic Empowerment, Pathways to a Better World, submitted that the country's constitution is enabling as it has provision for social justice and speaks to the kind of Nigeria every Nigerian yearns for. And so, to go deeper into this, we're joined by legal practitioner Elvis Asia. Mr. Elvis, many thanks for doing this with us. Let's just get started. Are there ambiguities in the language of the Constitution that contribute to public or institutional misinterpretation? Let's start there.
Well, I mean, the Constitution, the Nigerian Constitution, is not as if there are ambiguities that gives rise to challenges and all the crises that we see, both in terms of interpretation of the courts and in the public opinion. I think the problem with the Constitution is that it does not reflect the nature of the country. It does not reflect the structure of the country. Nigeria is not a nation. Nigeria is just a state with many nations. And so in designing the Constitution, you must, put that at the front burner and, put in principles that would ensure that all nationalities within that state are given a voice, are given fairness, and are given equal representation. And so the challenge with the Constitution is that it pretends that Nigeria is a country, Nigeria is a state. Nigeria is not a nation. So when you have this over-centralization of power and, everybody goes to Abuja to get anything meaningful from Nigeria, then you're bound to have so many voices and crises from different parts of the country, like what we are seeing now. So it's really not just a matter of ambiguity. It's really a foundational problem with respect to the structure of the country as designed by the Constitution, which does not align with the nature of the country.
And to what extent?
That's what I think.
Right. And to what extent does judicial interpretation, case law, clarify or complicate the constitutional provisions in Nigeria?
Of course, we have seen so many issues with interpretation that has arisen from the courts. Politics has gone into a lot of things, and that is further complicating the challenges that we have with the workability of the current constitution. We've seen instances where the courts, in an attempt to interpret the constitution in a manner that would perhaps suit political expediency, we deviate from the intent and purpose of the Constitution. I'll give you an example of the last elections where there was an issue as to whether a particular candidate had won the election on the basis of what the Constitution requires in terms of the required number of states and the FCC that should be won by a candidate to be declared an elected president in Nigeria. And we saw the interpretation that came from the court. And so, yes, we have had that challenge. And like I said, it's really a matter of the politics that we have in the country and a lot of the issues arising from the electoral provisions that you have in the Constitution. And in my view, all of this, boils down to the issue of a foundational problem. Because you see, no matter how much you try to beautify a building, if the foundational issues that were not properly laid, even if you beautify the building with gold, it will still crumble. So the courts are limited. Yes, they make attempt to interpret the Constitution, but in the final analysis, the people don't feel it because that interpretation and even the intention of the Constitution itself does not give voice to their yearnings and aspiration as a people.
Right. And what legal mechanisms or reforms could improve constitutional literacy? And I think this is very, very important, and also reduce misinterpretation among both citizens and, most importantly, officers of either the court or the law.
Well, I mean, there are so many ways you can try to get the people to be familiar with the Constitution. And I think one way to do that is to ensure that people can have access to the Constitution in the traditional languages that we have in the country, at least the main traditional languages, so that that way they are able to relate with the provision of the Constitution and think through it in line with their mother tongue. So that's one way to do it. Those days we used to have the National Orientation Agency as a functional state agency that was meant to disseminate information, let people understand a lot of these major laws and regulations in the country. We don't seem to be having that anymore. So that's also one way to another way to look at it. And then we also now need a National Assembly that can open issues to proper debate so that people can become interested in the Constitution. A lot of the things that we do in Nigeria are shrouded in secrecy. When you take actions like what we have seen in Rivers, for example, the people begin to wonder, is this what the Constitution says? And so in trying to increase the literacy of the people in terms of understanding the Constitution, the government must put in a lot of effort and money into doing so. We can have a summarized, annotated Constitution that people can easily have access to online, and they can understand their rights and responsibilities and civic duties as citizens. But unfortunately, we don't really think that these are really important. And the most important thing, like I've earlier said, is that you need to amend or come up with the Constitution that reflects the will of the people. This Constitution was foisted on Nigerians, even though it says that, we the people of the country, as we have given ourselves the Constitution. It's just a lie, because it was the military and a few people that came to put this together. So once you have a Constitution that reflects the will of the people, then the people would naturally buy into it and understand it. But this particular Constitution is not understandable because it doesn't even give clarity in terms of clarity that reflects, that align with how the people see themselves within the territorial area called Nigeria.
Can the Constitution be considered truly democratic if it was enacted without a referendum?
I don't think so. I don't think you can have a proper constitution, a people's constitution, without a referendum on at least the major issues. For example, issues that has to do with the structuring of the country, the kind of political system you want to have, the kind of national assembly you want to have. If you don't have a referendum on these fundamentals, what you have is nothing but more like a legislation. Any other piece of legislation by National Assembly. But a constitution should reflect the will of the people. And the way to do that is through referendum, through subjecting it one way or the other to the, getting the buy-in and consent of the people, and people making their input into the process. And that's why you will say that this is the people's constitution. But when you don't have that, we have never had that as a nation. This 1999 constitution was just a few people constituted by the military, who perhaps wrote what their intentions at the time. So for you to have a people's constitution, yes, you must have a referendum on the fundamental issues that will constitute the nucleus of that constitution.
All right.
And we haven't had that, which is why it's probably difficult for people to even appreciate the Nigerian constitution.
All right. Well, I must say thank you for taking out the time to join us, Elvis. Elvis Asia is a legal practitioner who joined us live to give us a bit of insight following comments made by the former Minister of Works and also former Governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Fashola.